Hey, hi Samriddhi. You can please proceed ahead with the next set of keynotes.
Right. Thank you, Jatin. We have next Mr. Terence Gomes, Country Head Security Microsoft India, who will be talking to us about the top 5 cybersecurity resolutions for 2022. Mr. Gomes, over to you.
Thank you, Samriddhi. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy to be talking to you here today on this forum. And a warm welcome, and hope you have a good, insightful session today. Uh, as I was preparing for this keynote, I was thinking about what are the learnings based on our interactions with various security practitioners, various organizations across India that we could bring together and share with you in terms of the top themes that they are taking forward in the next year. I so call it the security resolutions for 2022. And that's where I said, let me actually bring that into a consolidated platform that I can share with. So let me bring up my screen here for a minute and we should get going. Got it. Awesome. I hope all of you can see my screen and I'll get started. So as I was preparing and speaking to a lot of practitioners, I think the most common things that came up in various areas, I kind of compiled that together and said, if there were top 5 improvement areas that practitioners wanted to go and do and fix in their security program for 2022, what would they be? And let me start sharing with you, and you will probably notice a common theme and may relate to this as well as you move forward from 21 to 22. I think the first and most important point, and there is no denial, I think every practitioner, every officer that we talk about kind of have shared the same feedback that today's reality, today's way of working, the distributed, the hybrid, the rapid digital transformation, while that has really helped our businesses get back and be agile and be open for businesses, from a security standpoint, that has actually opened up a lot of doors and entry points for attackers to come in, right? And the whole, I would say, thought process around span of control or having a tight, control of what's happening on the enterprise has kind of put our security practitioners again to rethink about how well have we managed our attack surface, and the whole attack surface has significantly kind of changed with the new rapid digital transformation that has happened. So I think one of the top, I would say, themes or learnings that a lot of security practitioners, irrespective of the size or industry, have constantly come back and shared and said, Terence, this is top of mind for us. And we are constantly looking at how do we reduce our attack surface and how do we manage that. And this is a challenge. This is a pain point that we need to do much better in FY22. Right? If that was one challenge that kept them busy and thinking about security, the other challenge, of course, was around the whole volume, intensity, and I would say the quantum of attacks that have increased in the past couple of years. We all know the dark web and the cost to acquire and track service in the underground web is extremely inexpensive and cheap. And that creates more problems for defenders like us to keep up and keep them out. But it's not just the volume of attacks; it's also the sophistication of the attacks and the variety of attacks that our practitioners are seeing in the last 12 months, right? Earlier attacks used to be predominantly at the endpoint or at the identity layer, and we were dealing with the challenges of malware and now of late ransomware and coin miners. But we are also seeing attackers pivot to other devices in the environment that we would probably not always have on top of our mind. We've seen breaches starting off with printers being compromised and OT and IoT devices, especially IoT devices and connected cameras being used to kind of break in and then pivot from there into the organization. So a lot of our defenders and practitioners are coming back and saying, hey, while we had our eyes set on the most common points of an attack, like the identity and the endpoint and the email, but now we've got to really relook at it because the attackers are coming from a very different set of entry points that we hadn't planned for. So at one side we have the attack surface that has significantly grown, but the other side we have this huge variety and range and quantity of attacks that are literally hitting our organizations. Now that's the what of the story. as security practitioners define that this is the problem that we're trying to address, and as they get into the implementation phase, saying, hey, how do I go fix this, and how do I go make my organization secure and resilient, as they start looking at ways to deal with, they start realizing that security is not that simple, and the number of vendors, number of products, number of controls that are out there to really manage all these challenges under one roof has significantly made it more and more complex for them to really have a tight security program. On top of it, the number of alerts, false positives, and the noise that a lot of the security tools create is just made it very difficult for them to really manually manage all of that alerts. And then to top it all is the shortage of security skill staff that we are dealing with as an industry, and as a sector, right? So at one hand we have all these problems, that and learnings to kind of take forward and address in the new year, but it's also still the traditional approach, of the point tools and point products and trying to make that work continues to be an area of concern, and complexity that practitioners are looking to solve. So when we put all of these together and kind of say, hey, what should be the top 5 projects or themes or areas of improvements that we should go and fix in the coming year, these are the top 5 that kind of consistently came across, no matter who I spoke to, and these are the top 5 initiatives that they would typically want to go do in the new year, right? So attack surface reduction and management that continue to be top of mind. Protection, from not just identity or endpoint, but end-to-end protection, so that they have a tight, secure organization and security is all up and not just working in silos. The third, of course, the thing that they want is how do we manage all of these complexity? Because if it is too complicated, you will never be able to be on top of things, and simplification makes security more robust and more I would say complete, and complexity brings in gaps and silos and shadows, right? So those are the other that was the other theme that emerged. And the other two was around how do we just improve our detection rates, how do we keep the false positive downs, how do we improve our after we detect, how do we improve our response and recovery times so that we can get back to normal. So these are the top 5 themes that kind of you know consistently came across from various practitioners that we spoke to as the areas of improvement for FY22. Now, as we speak about these, and these are kind of seem to be the top 5 themes, just wanted to kind of spend a few minutes telling you about how is Microsoft helping our practitioners and our customers, in India, to kind of go and address these and solve for these as they ring in the new year. So the first point around attack surface reduction and attack surface management, I just wanted to kind of bring this up for your attention. I think 2 things. One, of course, the company that Microsoft acquired recently in this year, Risk IQ, which is a leader in attack surface management and threat intelligence. I think that's something to watch out for. And we're working with a lot of customers globally and locally to help them manage their attack surface. Whether it's an outside in view, whether it's a simulation view, whether it's a view about how can somebody break in spite of having tight controls. This is one of the areas and technology initiatives that we're taking up with a lot of customers in India and globally to watch out for. The second one, of course, which is already part of the Microsoft platform, whether it is Azure security or whether it is Office 365 or whether it is Windows or identity, the secure score or secure security posture management tool, which gives the customers insights into what's implemented and what's not implemented and can put them at risk, like a control matrix view of the best practices and recommendations for their environment. So this is one way that we are helping customers manage their attack surface as they move forward into next year. The second challenge, of course, is dealing with complexity of threats, dealing with sophistication of attacks, and really trying to have a comprehensive security program which is end to end across their enterprise, identity to IoT, and nothing's left out. And that's where the Microsoft integrated unified threat protection platform is what a lot of our customers are looking at, are actively in either in deployment stages or optimization stages, and this covers all key components of the house, right? This is not just on-prem, this is not just cloud, this even extends to OT and IoT environments, and then they're all integrated by the same backplane, so you get an XDR unified experience, and then you can extend it not just to the Microsoft ecosystem, but to other ecosystems and other clouds as well. So that's another way that we are helping organizations manage their requirement for protecting everything end to end, and not just looking at challenges in isolation. The third challenge, of course, where we're dealing with working with a lot of customers, is how do we simplify the complexity that is already created. And there's a lot of projects that customers are looking forward to in the next year, where they're looking at consolidation, because there's a lot of security controls that are available as part of the platform, whether it is the Microsoft Azure cloud, or whether it is the Office 365, or the Windows platform. Different security controls that an organization will typically end up doing with 40 to 50 different products. A lot of them is already available as part of the platform. So this helps our customers not only implement the security controls they need, but kind of reduce the overheads, consolidate a lot of them, and kind of use the built-in functionality to keep their security program up to date. And then the fourth and the fifth point, these are the other areas that again we're helping customers go do in FY21 and in FY22. The whole challenge about looking at the signals, looking at the events, narrowing down the high fidelity incidents, and not just having analysts manually look at the alerts, right? With advanced analytical tools, UEBA models, machine learning models, and the Microsoft threat analytics platform, is where we are helping customers actually move from left to right, and really focus on the most significant security fidelity incidents, rather than having to sniff through millions and billions of events and alerts to kind of get there. So that's another area that Microsoft is partnering with a lot of customers in India. And finally, the move from not just detecting threats, but it's also the last mile in terms of how do I respond to them faster, and how do I recover from them faster, and how do I really use the advantage and the power of automation, because given the shortage of skilled staff, and the amount of alerts that will always be high, we will never be manually possible for us to touch every single alert, or every incident manually through a human intervention. So how do you try and automate as much as possible to help you respond and recover faster, and get your security program back on track? To kind of sum it up, and kind of just bring everything together in terms of learnings, best practices, and go do's for FY22. These are again kind of a quick recap of what we are hearing from customers, the areas that we are working with customers to go and enable them to get these results and drive these outcomes in FY22, and these are the top themes that we're constantly seeing for the FY22 or for the coming year. So if I have to sum it up, my top five security resolutions and my go-to with a set of customers that I work with would basically be summed up into this slide and into these top five points for today. With that, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and look forward to interacting with you not only during the event, but even post the event. Thank you so much for your time and attention.